Matt Damon is on his way back to the big screen as Jason Bourne, and while we're stoked the movie's not called Reborn or Born Again or some silly shit like that, mostly we're just glad to have an excuse to dive into the franchise.
The novel, written in 1980 by Robert Ludlum about an amnesiac spy, became a big screen hit with a 2002 film directed by Doug Liman. But the book is like 600 pages. How'd they fit all that spy stuff in a 2-hour movie?
I am so glad you asked, Casey.
Oh, good.
Without further ado, and no restraint on spoilers, what's the difference? Right off the bat, the first act of the book and the movie play out in very similar ways. The movie opens with a spooky shot of Jason Bourne's unconscious body floating in the middle of the ocean, 2 bullets lodged in his back. We don't know how he ended up there, only that he's barely alive when he's found and hauled aboard a fishing boat. The boat's captain/medic/good Samaritan helps to nurse him back to health.
Ludlum details how Bourne is shot and thrown off a boat in the rough waters of the Mediterranean, shortly before the boat explodes in what is described as a fiery diadem.
Ooh, fancy words, Mr. Ludlum.
Anyway, with a bullet in his head in addition to the bullets everywhere else, Bourne clutches onto debris from the freshly blowed up boat and floats a while before being rescued by the fishing boat. And this actually brings us to our first really significant difference. Instead of the fishing boat's captain tending to Bourne, he brings the badly shot up stranger ashore and turns his care over to a local doctor. The doctor, a Jeffrey Washburn, is an Englishman and a drunkard exiled from his home country to this small French port town.
From here, it takes a while for the book to catch up to the movie's pace. While book Bourne spends almost 6 months recovering with Washburn, movie Bourne regains his strength during his stay on the fishing boat in only a few weeks. Granted, he had way fewer bullets in him and none of them were in his head, but the speediness of his recovery is not just a matter of screen time economy.
Hou dan godverdamme ook nog op de zeker. En zeg het me.
The movie focuses on Bourne's inability to remember who he is. Not in a can't remember my name sort of way, but in an existential, who am I really and what kind of person ends up floating in the Mediterranean with bullets in his back anyway? And is that somebody I even want to be sort of way?
The book, on the other hand, takes a much more nuts and bolts kind of approach. The months spent convalescing with Washburn are, for the reader, spent learning about the mechanics of amnesia and how one might experimentally go about curing a person of its effects. It isn't until he hospitalizes an abusive fishing crew that Bourne is forced to flee out into the world. But the book continues to focus on the methods by which Bourne investigates his own identity. He borrows a passport from Dr. Washburn, makes his way to Marseille, where he cons a philandering marquis out of his clothes, watch, and car. Then he pawns all that stuff, buys some new clothes, and checks into a hotel to rest up before he meets with a forger to buy a fake passport so he can travel safely to Zurich and the bank, which holds the only clue to his identity. But at the meeting, he's attacked by an assassin that clearly thought Bourne was dead, and just as clearly wants to rectify the whole Bourne's not dead situation right then and there. Oh hey, Bourne's not dead!
You see, in the movie, Bourne decides for himself to return to the world, so he takes a train. Just hops on a train, takes it to Switzerland, staring out the window the whole time, all pensive, like he's scared what he'll find out about himself. Yeah. See that expression right there on Matt Damon's face? Well, you can find out, man. Huh? Yeah, there's no telling who you are. Crazy, right?
Wait, were you gonna make a point, or?
Yeah, the point is, the screenwriters made a very clear decision on what the real difference between the book and movie was going to be. Yes, they both set up the story in more or less the same way. However, once Bourne makes his way to the bank in Austria to retrieve the cash of his belongings, the narratives spin off in wildly different directions. In fact, describing the movie with the phrase loosely based on the novel would be appropriate from here on out. Because of this, the real difference between the book and the movie isn't in all the minute details that are changed from page to screen.
The book focuses mostly on the spy narrative, the how of Jason Bourne's adventure, while the movie focuses on the emotional consequences Bourne suffers as he uncovers his past. All the details that change to suit that purpose. Book Bourne is attacked again on his way out of the bank, he assumes by the same group that found him in Marseille. And while escaping their pursuit, he crosses paths with Marie St. Jacques, a Canadian financial whiz attending a global economics conference in Zurich. Bourne rather brutally takes her hostage during his escape.
On the screen, Bourne arouses suspicion at the bank, but doesn't run into any real trouble until he gets to the American embassy. There, he beats up some dudes and runs into Marie Kreutz, a German woman who's best described as a gypsy. She floats from place to place, never really settling anywhere, never really having anything. And instead of taking her hostage, Bourne pays her for a ride to Paris, an arrangement that benefits them both.
While the written Marie fits very well into the high-stakes global scale of a spy novel with her international financial sector credentials, the cinematic Marie offers a clear alternative life for Bourne. She's off the grid with very little identity of her own, as far as the people chasing them are concerned. Both Maries complement both Bournes in ways that, in turn, complement both mediums quite well.
Huh. That is not a very good sentence.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll fix it by the time we record.
We're recording right now.
Well, the damage is done, isn't it? Let's just move on.
Right. So, with Marie in tow, Movie Bourne sets about piecing together all the clues. He discovers connections to a yacht manufacturer, the attempted assassination of an African dictator named Nkwana Wambosi, and the name of a top-secret intelligence operation of which he might have been a part called Treadstone.
Book Bourne, with Marie's help, begins connecting his own fragile memories to evidence suggesting he might be in league with the most infamous terrorist of the day, an assassin going by the name Carlos. Ultimately, he discovers Treadstone 71, a secret operation in which Bourne poses as another notorious hitman named Kane in order to draw out Carlos.
Along the way, a few details get pulled from the book. Small things, like the name Abbott, the man in charge of the CIA's clandestine programs from the novel, is also the name of Brian Cox's character in the movie.
What are we gonna do?
Treadstone in the movie is more of a program than an operation, an outfit producing numerous operatives like Bourne and tasked with objectives that even Abbott is willfully ignorant of. Likewise, Alexander Conklin, played by Chris Cooper in the movie, plays a similar role in both mediums, spearheading the efforts to kill Bourne instead of bringing him in.
The book ends in a climactic fight with Carlos inside Treadstone's headquarters, a brownstone in Manhattan. Conklin ultimately comes around to believe Bourne's amnesia, but the epilogue finds Bourne recovering from his fight with Carlos under armed guards. He even remembers his first name. As for Carlos, well, he's back in the wind.
The movie ends in a similar showdown at a Treadstone safe house in Paris, but Conklin shows no remorse, still determined to get rid of any evidence hinting that Bourne was ever even a thing.
Jason Bourne is dead. You hear me?
Meanwhile, we also see Abbott ordering Conklin's death and even dismantling Treadstone in front of Congress, and it's Bourne that disappears back into the wind, tracking down Marie in her scooter rental shop and having what seems like a pretty happy ending all tied up with a bow.
But these are just a few minor details that survive the adaptation process. Again, the book and movie are essentially completely different narratives. The actual differences are so numerous, it's not even worth mentioning them all here.
We didn't even get into the French general and his wife.
Hello, Jason Bourne? Yes, this is Le French General. It turns out my Le wife was Le informant for Le Carlos. So I Le killed her. Why don't you Le come over?
It's wild. But the book puts infinitely more weight on how everything is happening, only occasionally touching on the emotional impact uncovering an unsavory past has on Bourne. The movie, on the other hand, focuses almost entirely on that.
So that's how you fit 600 pages of a spy novel into a 2-hour movie. You pick one idea you like and take away literally everything else. Although both tell the story of a man with amnesia slowly putting together the pieces of who he really is, the book dives deep into the backroom dealings of the top-secret operation that led to Bourne's situation. The movie puts the focus squarely on Bourne's journey to find himself, if he truly is the type of guy that can kill, or if he's just that chill dude that Franca Potente seems to like.
Spoiler alert, he's a chill dude. Until they kill Marie in the sequel, and he's all like, I'm coming for you, but...
I don't want to hurt you, but you gotta calm down. Now do the outro.
Sorry. Well, that's all for this episode of What's the Difference? Let us know if you're ready to be born again when our favorite amnesiac spy is back in theaters. Make sure to click like and subscribe to Cinefix for more What's the Difference?